Hi, I'm Hamish. I am a developer for the team Project Magma. I was in charge of making the back end for the player, so holding stuff like player health, taking damage, hitting the player, healing the player, and all the stats and all the stat points. Um, an example of what the stat point would be is if we go into stamina. So if a player adds a stat point into stamina, they will get extra HP, and then that will then in turn update the player stats, which will then update the player details. One of the issues that I ran into in doing this, or connecting it to Unity, was the only parameters that you can use in Unity is string or int. I would have much preferred to have used my enumerated type, which makes everything just that much easier, but I can use an int, and that was really the only issue that I ran into, and yeah.
Hello, I'm James Stewart and I was a developer for Project Magma. In Sprint 1, my tasks were to create the pause menu and to work on the player movement script with Max. However, due to an unforeseen circumstance, Max was unable to participate in Sprint 1 with us, so I wrote a very basic player movement script. This was the cause of most of my problems during Sprint 1 because I had to learn how to do ground checking. To do the ground check, we cast 3 rays from the character object, and if the ray collides with a ground or collides with anything below it, it's deemed as ground and sets a boolean to true to say that it is grounded. When that ray no longer touches the ground, it sets it to false so that the player cannot jump while in the air. On top of the player movement, I also wrote a very basic camera movement so that the camera moves with the player. It uses a vector3.lerp, which basically smooths the movement of the camera. Um, for the pause menu, it is very basic as well. It is just a set of functions that sets the timescale to 1 or 0, depending on if the game is paused or not. But throughout the programming process, I created a UI manager script because I wanted the UI manager script to handle all the opening and closing of UI elements within the game. Because if each UI element script called its own UI elements, it was going to get quite messy. Um, there's also a very basic placeholder settings script and a very basic main menu script.
Hi, my name is Max. I've been away most of the sprints due to health issues. I've still been programming for the project, but I've been unable to help integrate the code I've written in time for this sprint. One thing I've been working on is prototyping the event manager for decoupling subsystems. Originally, it used a string to identify the type of event that you wanted to listen for. The arguments were passed as an array of object, and the callback had to cast the desired type. However, this was very prone to runtime errors such as casting errors or simply misspelling the type of event that you wanted. My solution was to pass an object and use the type of object to specify the type of event that it's for. The downside of this solution is that a new class must be created for every new event, but it's much less prone to error. Here's it in action: listening for events, broadcasting events, and receiving events. I've also been chipping away at the character controller. It may look somewhat polished, but it has a number of critical bugs that make it unusable for the Sprint 1 deliverable. Unlike the current rigid body implementation that we're using, this one has no intersection correction yet, and if the character gets stuck on something, they'll most likely be pushed further into it. It would be very embarrassing for the character to get stuck or fall through the floor during a product showcase, so this will be left out until those problems are resolved. Next sprint, this character controller will replace the one we have now. I'll also be adding features such as air control when falling or jumping, interaction with other rigid bodies and colliders such as pushing or being pushed, and proper staircasing so that the character can climb up stairs.
Hi, I'm Owen. I'm the owner of this project, and our Sprint One goal is to have the basic game system up and running, being able to move the character, interact with game objects, and apply stats point. So my part was setting graphic interface for allocating character stats. As you can see in the screen, there are a total of 4 stats: stamina, strength, dexterity, and defense. If you press up it will increase the relevant stats. If you click down arrow, it will decrease the relevant stats. Problem I faced during developing my user story was that the vertical layout group option, it was quite complicated and was hard to understand at first, but now I have fully understand how it works and I have implemented into my Sprint 1 user story.
Hi, I'm Patch, a team member for Project Magma. And for Sprint 1, the user story that was assigned to me was, as a player, I want to be able to view my health so that I know when I need to heal up. A problem that I faced was due to my inexperience of using Unity before. I was unable to code this particular user story, so it was assigned to another team member that was familiar with using Unity before. So for the rest of Sprint 1, I'm mainly just focused on developing my Unity skills, so I may help my team in the future of this project. And also I'm mainly focused on the documentation side of the project. Like, for example, I completed the team retrospective document. And yeah.
Hi, my name is Taeun Chung. I'm one of the developers in the team. My job for Sprint 1 was to develop inventory system in the game. These are the two user stories I worked on. The player should be able to pick up items and see them in the inventory. The main problem I had during the Sprint 1 was my lack of knowledge on Unity and the programming language, as this was my first time using Unity. I had to undergo study during the development, and this took longer than I expected to complete. However, I eventually managed to develop the system, and no error was found in the test. When your character is near an item and press X, the item disappears. Then you can press I to open up the inventory, and you can view the item you picked up.